Well, if I had to sum up 2024, I guess it would be this: a lot of opportunity, but little success. It was a pretty frustrating year, if I'm honest. It started out okay, I guess, but quickly turned into mush. I had grand plans to fish, forage, turkey hunt, and as the year progressed, to hunt deer. First up, the fishing. Well, this will be a short discussion because I didn't go. My boat never left my yard for the entirety of 2024. Not one single time. I putzed around on the pond in our property, catching little bass, and kayaked around the lake a little bit, but I did not catch one crappie, one catfish, nothing. To say I'm disappointed in my fishing year would be an understatement. There are many reasons, most of which are really just excuses, but I have vowed to myself not to do that again. Foraging was not really any better. I believe I found 3 morels. Not sure what the issue was really. Was it too wet? Too dry? Too cold, then too hot? Seems like all that kind of came together in one perfect storm of suck. I did have a bit of luck with chanterelles, as you could see, which I absolutely love, but most of them were stunted and withered due to a very dry growing season. Turkey season came and went, and I never even made it to the woods. I'm a banker. In banking, your regulators show up about every 18 months to drop in and see how you're doing. Usually they stay a couple of weeks. Well, they arrived on the scene on the first stinking day of the season and left about the same time the season ended. The weather was terrible and the weekends unusable to the point that I didn't even bother. I guess the good news is I still work for a very good bank and we had a great exam. I had a hard time enjoying that though because of what I'd missed in turkey hunting. For 2025, I again plan to rectify that oversight. During the summer, I began to hatch a plan for improving my property to include more food plots. I had purchased a couple of bags of a mix that is intended for upland birds that I thought might be a good mix for the wildlife I wanted to attract. It's a mix of soybean, black oil sunflower, millet, buckwheat, cowpea, and sorghum sudan for cover. I broadcasted 100 pounds on that acreage. Then I strapped the sprayer down on the back of the gator and added a roller that my neighbor let me borrow. And I pretty much destroyed, sorry Carrie, and started to prep the property. I rolled and sprayed approximately 1.25 acres. Then the rain that was forecasted for the next 2 weeks never came. However, once it did, we were off to the races. Everything looked pretty good until the sorghum sudan essentially choked everything but itself and the millet out. There were a handful of cowpeas and a few soybeans, but I never really saw one sunflower. There may have been a little buckwheat, but not enough to really do anything helpful. So I did what I always do. I tried to make the best of the situation. I cut some lanes, hoping the deer would use them for travel corridors, which they certainly did according to my cameras. As the late summer approached, I tried adding radishes and turnips to some of the lanes to provide some fall or winter candy. Then, of course, as usual, the rain shut off again. I had some sprouts, but nothing that would ever amount to anything. Overall, I estimate I wasted a couple of $100 on that experiment. As September 15th arrived, I began to get pretty excited. I had at least grown some good cover that provided seed heads for food, and deer were regularly showing up on my cameras. The first month of the season was oppressively hot, so I really didn't get out until mid-October. On October 15th, the first sign of real trouble arrived. I know in past years I've been pretty honest about my struggles with my crossbow. In September, I moved wrong and tweaked my shoulder, so I decided to play it safe and bring the crossbow back out. I felt like everything was pretty dialed in, but I'm not sure I was. Here's the thing that started off a domino effect of disaster. At 9:19 a.m., a young buck, healthy, smaller buck, walked out and stopped at 5 yards. I pulled up, took a shot, and the deer arched up like he had been hit and bounded off into the sorghum sedan. I felt like he stopped about 60 yards and was probably dead. I waited a good 10 minutes or so and then left the blind to go see if I could find some blood. Nothing. I remember seeing a divot where I think I hit him just behind the shoulder, but I think the mechanical broadhead I was using never opened up, thus leaving the wound to close around the bolt. I searched for hours, finally giving up at about 1:37 p.m. To this day, I still think I hit him, although I have to be open to the possibility that I completely missed. I think that's pretty hard to swallow at 5 yards, but I never found the bolt or even a drop of blood. That soured the rest of the hunt, and I just couldn't get my head back in the game. I wish that I'd been recording this hunt because that could have shed some light on the shot. I'm open to the possibility that since I shot through the screen in the blind, that could have messed my trajectory up just enough to miss, but at that distance, I'm pretty skeptical. However, this situation inspired me to take up filming my hunts again, if for no other reason than to have some answers. Well, over the next couple of weeks, I decided to shoot my compound and see if I could hunt with it due to another unsuccessful hunt with the crossbow. I had my situation pretty dialed in, so I thought, and felt good enough to take the old PSE out for a hunt. By November 1st, I was starting to see several different nice bucks on my cameras, so the excitement was really getting to me. On that day, I made another stupid, frustrating, 100% avoidable mistake. I'd been sitting in the blind for a couple of hours and had not seen a thing. With the extra layers and a bow sitting across my lap, my left leg had fallen asleep. So like any normal person would do, I set my bow down in the chair, turned my back to said chair, and stood for a moment stretching my legs and trying to return some blood flow to my feet. It was at that moment that he decided to show up. A nice 2 to 3 year old buck with the tallest rack I think I've ever seen stepped out from behind a patch of blackberries once again at 5 yards. He came from the opposite direction from where all the prior deer had been approaching, so he completely caught me by surprise. I couldn't have seen him coming if I'd known he was coming, so there I stand, bow in the chair beside me, a shooter buck at 5 yards. I might as well have had my pants down. He was cruising, so I never even really looked at my direction. I slowly turned to get my bow, but by the time I could get it up, pulled back, and sights on him, I didn't have a shot. I tried merping at him to see if he would turn back, to no avail. I tried grunt calling, nothing. He just kept on walking, and I never saw him again that day. To say I felt like an idiot would be an understatement. I still get the sweats just thinking about that one. I hunted the rest of the weekend, but nothing really gave me a shot I could take. I spent the whole time fretting about the missed opportunity and kicking myself in the butt. To say I got in my own head with these things, yeah, that'd be an understatement. So yesterday, saw meh in the woods on what should have been a perfect day to see some meh in the woods. Today is Sunday. I have awakened and run myself home as quickly as possible because I have to get to church in order to. I'm the worship leader at church, so I have to get to church and do the thing this morning. So I did not go hunting this morning, obviously. Yeah, I saw 10 deer on the way home this morning. 6 of which were within a mile of deer camp. So I am choosing to serve my Lord and Savior today instead of hunting probably the best morning so far. So God does have a sense of humor, and He likes to remind us that we don't have control over anything. So get out of bed, go to church this morning, and maybe your afternoon will be blessed. Hopefully, when I get back to the woods, my afternoon will be blessed. Well, I'm back. It's Sunday afternoon. It's windy. I saw a bunch of deer this morning on my way to church and hoping to see a bunch of deer out here in the woods trying to find each other for some loving. So, sitting here at a pinch point. Hopefully we'll get some action here in a bit, and hopefully I've got something cool to show you in a bit. All right, well, seems like maybe I've done it finally. About 4:40 or so this evening. A little, I guess he was a basket rack, little 6-point, walked up and just came right into a spot where I couldn't say no to the shot. I hit him. I was getting a phone call during the moment, so I don't know if I got video of that on my GoPro or not. It was kind of a wild 30-45 seconds, so I've got to go back and look at that. So I'm hoping that I caught the shot and can see what happened, but they never do what you think they're going to do. I sat there and had a plan figured out for what I thought they would do when I first sat there, and then they constantly did the opposite of that and came, basically it circled up and then came behind where I was set up. So today I had all my cameras and everything set up for that same situation because I've seen I don't know how many deer sitting out there that did all the same thing. So tonight he started that direction and then he cut in front of me where I would have preferred a deer showed up to begin with. So I'm standing in my deer stand and I'm anticipating him coming down here and coming behind me where there's a lane where I can shoot. Yeah, he didn't do that. So I had to kind of adjust on the fly while standing up and somehow managed not to spook him. I tracked far enough to find blood. I have not found my arrow, so I don't really know what I'm looking at here as far as the hit. So came back, made dinner, gonna sit by the old campfire, enjoy the next 30-45 minutes, and then I guess the track is on, and then we'll see. I'm running out of arrows, so I gotta get a deer down pretty soon, or else I guess I'll have to start throwing rocks. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna finish dinner and relax for a bit and see what happens. Well, after that dinner of deer camp surprise, I started blood trailing, and well, the story doesn't get any better. 2 hours later, and nothing but blood, and I'm pretty upset. The next morning, it was freezing cold. My breath was turning into snow in the deer blind, and I was pumped because I knew that this meant deer. Or so I thought. Well, it's November the 15th, and it has been a beautiful morning. Seems like kind of a perfect morning, but as of yet, I have not seen any deer. I did get blown at earlier. I think the thermals were not my friend this morning. I think there was a buck back here behind me, down lower than me, and busted me about an hour after the sun came up. Actually busted me a couple of times, so I guess he was sniffing out the area up here, scent checking for does. But I'm back at it. I had convinced myself I was not gonna hunt today, and I was just gonna chill and get ready for tomorrow, which is the opening day of gun season. But after all the aggravation of bow hunting, I figured I'd better get back on the horse and try to build some confidence and get back in here and get in the game before I don't know what. I guess what it comes down to is you can't kill one if you're not hunting. So it was frosty this morning, which was nice, and it is absolutely dead calm. I did expect to see more deer than this. Gregory is over kind of on the southeast corner in the permanent stand, and he's seen 3, I think, but nothing worth shooting for him. So I was kind of hoping they'd kind of work their way around to me, but that has not been the case so far. So I thought maybe I'd pick up my cell phone and start talking, and maybe that. Well, I just also peed, so I peed and picked up my cell phone, so that should screw everything up and make all the deer show up. But anyway, all right, it is still November the 15th, and it's the evening, and I'm back here, returning to the scene of Sunday's crime, of the hit deer that was never recovered. Hoping for redemption tonight. I'm gonna sit down here and wait for something to show up and hopefully stick a arrow in it in the right place and deep enough to make it count. So it's a little bit breezy and it's a little bit warm, and as you can see, it's very sunshiny. It's a beautiful bluebird egg sort of day. So see what happens. Whoa, I just had a cool experience. So I saw a little buck that I thought was maybe the buck that I shot Saturday that got away because he was kind of limping in some really thick stuff about 60 to 80 yards away from me. So pulled out the rattling horns, gave him a whack for about 20 seconds, and then got my grunt call out and grunted, and he came back and got him to 13 yards, but he was standing right behind some trees, so could not get a shot at him. If it had been tomorrow and had my 30-30 down here, we'd be looking at pictures of a dead deer. But as luck would have it, I'm shooting a bow and trying to shoot through this. That was my shot. Well, as you can see, I have changed my outfit, and it's rocking. It is opening day of gun season here in Missouri, and if you want to know how my morning's going, yeah, got up here and knocked my coffee off the deer stand before I even got a drink of it, and I dropped my GoPro, and I'm too settled in and hearing too many shots to get down and go get it, so may or may not get any footage today. So if I get a deer, I don't care about footage. I need some meat. Well, I couldn't stand it. I got back down. Got the old GP and my coffee. Guzzled it down. Now we're ready to rock. Except my coffee bag busted and I pretty much chewed my coffee. But hey, I'm not gonna knock it this morning. I needed it. Well, the morning hunt didn't go so good. No deer, no nothing. So back down on public land in the deep woods at the pinch point where I called in the buck yesterday but didn't get a shot. Well, today got old trusty Rosie with me here. She's been with me since I was 13. She always takes care of business, so I'm gonna put Rosie in charge of the venison procurement activities tonight, and hopefully have some good news later. Ooh, well, that was crazy, and you will see none of it because my camera was turned off, but a smallish young buck just came in chasing a doe, and I shot both of them. So maybe you can't join me for the shot, but you can join me for the track. And I don't think the track's going to be too long. Alright, we're going to look for the buck first. I hit him in the shoulder, and I know it was a pretty decent hit. I'm thinking it might hit his heart, but for now, I'm going to look for blood and see what we're dealing with. Well, I haven't found any blood yet, but I don't need to find blood. I see him. He is. Weird. Right there. Here he is. Nice little 6-pointer. Thank you for bringing this beautiful creature into me. I pray that you will give me an opportunity and give me the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to shoot straight and to kill quick. Take a look at this guy. He's an alright little 6-point. Stinks. He's rutting hard. He's been doing a little fighting too. I didn't see that before. I gotta get to cleaning. Well, that's one down, and that was a heck of a shot, I think. I hit him right where I wanted to hit. I think I double lunged him. I did not see an exit wound, but there's plenty of pretty pink blood and a lot of air in the body cavity where his abdomen is. So I'm gonna give the doe a shot now and see where she wound up. I think that was another good hit, and she's probably dead too. But we'll see. Okay, so we're getting closer. Haven't found very much blood on this one, but I also, quite frankly, was not paying attention to where she was going because I was overthinking. Oh, there she is right there. What a day. I was feeling really a little bit on the crappy side for having not seen any deer today on the opening day. And then looks like I doubled up there and couldn't be happier. This one looks like I went in a little far back and must have exited out the other side. Now the real work begins. Well, it's almost dark. I've got the buck in the gator now, and I'm working on dragging her back. And let me tell you something. Dragging 2 deer through the woods in your late 40s, when you sit at a desk all day and you don't do very much, makes you realize one of two or two of two things. I'm either really old or really out of shape. Ugh. Or both.